Welcome to Connection, the channel where everyone's voice matters. My name is Bilitis, or you can call me Actress of Change. And I'm pleased to be your host on Connection today. If you're new to Connection, what should you expect? You should expect to meet inspiring men and women who have decided to take place in the driver's seat of their life. So to continue or to start your own journey being on the driver's seat of your life, simply subscribe for more inspiring stories. And today, let's go to South Africa to meet two inspiring women, a mother and a daughter who decided in 2013 to sell everything they had, living with 20 kilos, and take 1 year to travel all around the world. Miss Terry WINSHIP, the mother of Indygo, went from being a rebellious student to business owner, from IT manager to restaurant owner, from South Africa to Easter Islands, from single mom to public speaker. Giving back is intrinsic to Tanya's character. And she believes that life is a smorgasbord, a buffet, if you would say, to the bold and brave. Please welcome Terry and Indygo WINSHIP. Hi, welcome, ladies. I'm so glad to have you on Connection today, for the world to get to know your story, and that whatever you set yourself to, it's possible. So once again, welcome, Terry and Indygo. And
thank you.
Could you tell us? You're most welcome, Indygo. Could you tell us, why did you decide to go on traveling around the world for 1 year with your 9 years old daughter at the time?
So I was turning 50, and I think that was quite a catalyst, because I'd had this dream for so many years to travel around the world. And all of a sudden you wake up and you've been on the earth for half a century. And I kind of thought, if we don't do it now, when are we ever going to do it? Because then you're 60, then you're 70. So definitely it was turning 50. And also looking at some of my friends, some of them had got cancer, some of them had died, others had horrible divorces. And it was kind of like, geez, you've got to live your dreams, because life changes just like this. But yeah, I think turning 50 was the moment.
Wow. So you literally set yourself on, I want to live my 50th birthday differently, and so let's what can I do to make it different, and literally just do it. And could you please tell us more about your trip?
So we traveled for 366 days.
Mm-hmm.
We visited 10 countries. So on average, we kind of spent around 6 weeks in each country. We did very slow travel without much of an agenda. We had bought a round the world ticket, so we had to keep going in one direction, and we were allowed 8 stops. And we followed the sun, basically. We made sure we had summer for a whole year.
Wow. And how did you? So at the end, so you travel with one-way tickets, and how did you organize yourself to be able to live that 1 year traveling only? What did it take for you to start traveling?
So obviously the finances were quite a big thing, and I didn't have huge amounts of savings. I didn't have a rich daddy. I hadn't won the lottery. So my only option really was to sell my property and everything that we owned, because I'd learned growing up that you don't argue for your limitations. So there were so many reasons why I shouldn't be able to do it. And we just decided, we put our house on the market, and I said, if it sells within 3 months, we're going to go. And it sold probably in the first week it was on the market. Then we sold everything, clothes, toys. Indygo donated 99% of her toys to the police station rape crisis center, which was a good thing to do. But we gave away, sold, threw away, absolutely everything until I had a 12-kilogram backpack and Indygo had an 8-kilogram backpack. And then we set off.
And then, yes, like for you, Indygo, as well, how was it about your education? Like, what you didn't go to school and for 1 year, so how was school for you? How did it look like school during this year for you? It was not composed of a classroom, so how did it look like?
Well, in the beginning, when we were in America and Canada, my mother took me to a lot of museums, which was really, really educational for me. Like, when we were in New York, we went to this, I guess you could call it a museum, but it was called Dialogues in the Dark, where basically this blind woman would lead you through like a mock-up version of New York, but in pitch black. So you had to like find your way around as a blind person. And I think that school never would have actually been able to give me that experience and live someone else's life and see how they have to get through the day. I don't think I'd ever be able to do that at school. So I think just getting out there and actually experiencing how other people live their life is an education that I don't think a lot of people get. So I'm very privileged.
Yeah, so you literally, like what others would read in the books, you got
Exactly.
it in real time.
Exactly.
And could you remind us, like Indygo, which country have you visited with your mom?
So I went to America, Canada, South America, don't know all of the places, and then Southeast Asia.
So
could you help your daughter? Could you help your daughter?
South America, we started in Ecuador and we did Galapagos Islands for 3 weeks and we did a deep Amazon. Then we went to Peru, and from Peru we went to Easter Island, which I hope we get to talk about. From Easter Island to Chile, from Chile to Argentina. Then we did this 36-hour flight from Buenos Aires right through to Thailand, to Phnom. And so we stayed in Thailand, and from Thailand to Malaysia, Malaysia to Vietnam, and Vietnam to Cambodia. So 10 countries.
Wow. And part of that, for the two of you, what was your top 3 memory?
Well, I'll start. Easter Island for me is the most amazing place in the world. And actually, it is the most isolated, inhabited place in the world. But it's tiny, it's beautiful, it's very, very, very fragile from an ecology point of view. Tourism is what they survive on, but tourism is also fairly damaging, but fascinating with the Moai standing with their backs to the sea, all the lava. British ships dumped horses there at one point because they didn't have enough water, so there's wild horses everywhere. Absolutely fascinating, and it's tiny. So we were there for Christmas and New Year, and when we went, there was only one party on New Year's Eve, and we knew half the people, the taxi driver, the shop owner. So it was lovely. Another beautiful place is the Galapagos Islands. They are everything you've ever dreamed about. The wildlife, the animals, the beauty, very, very gorgeous place. And then, I don't know if it's a favorite memory, but it was deep Amazon. It was quite terrifying and unbelievably hot. It honestly is like walking into an oven, and everything is big. The cockroaches are big. The tarantulas are big. Terrifying. But I'm glad I've done it. I don't know if I'd ever do it again, but I've been there. So I think Indygo's are very different from mine.
Ah, yes. So thank you for sharing, Terry. And what about you, Indygo?
I have to say, just New York is probably my favorite place, just because I've always dreamed of going there, and it lives up to its expectations. Like, just Central Park and just everything is so amazing. And for a long time, I wanted to live there, so it was really nice to go visit. And we did like a lot of things that like I'd seen in the movies, and we went to a lot of places that like were quite important to me. So it was really nice to live that. And then probably my second place was actually Galapagos as well, just because my mother and I stayed there for quite a while, and for some reason I felt very much at home there. And we had like a little routine. There was a little pizza shop that we'd go, and they'd made like these delicious homemade pizzas, and we'd get every night. And then we'd walk over to the next store and get like I would get a mango ice cream, and then we'd just walk across the beach, and it felt like home, if that makes any sense. And we had a cute little routine. It was really nice then. It's just breathtakingly beautiful, honestly. And then I want to say Chile was probably just that country's beautiful. It really just the people and the country itself. It's amazing.
And as well, like, so thank you for sharing, Indygo. And as well, like, you see, like, part of your 3 souvenirs, I can as well like feel like there is souvenirs based on sights, so the view of it like beautiful, but as well based on taste. So apparently, like tell us more about how what did you do when you were in the different countries to get used to the food? What did you do, and what was your favorite foods?
When I was younger, I was a very, very fussy eater. Even back home in South Africa, I would not try anything that I hadn't eaten my entire life. So I struggled quite a lot. And my mother and she would be all trying out these new things, and then we'd have to walk and find like a McDonald's or something for me most of the time, just because I was too scared to try anything new. But we did a lot of cooking courses actually, majority in like South America, and there just because like I was actually making the food myself, like I learned that it wasn't as scary and it was just like at home. So South American food is really good.
Do you have a dish in particular you like?
No, just in general.
And what about you, Terry? Did you have a preference in terms of food?
I must say I do like Asian food. When we did a 6-week Tai Chi course, and we had to be up at 5 o'clock for the Tai Chi for 2 hours. But we had our favorite little restaurant on the beach, because we always made a routine quite quickly, and they did just like a stir fry, ginger. So and just sitting there after you've done 2 hours of exercise with this beautiful beach was absolutely amazing. In South America as well, all those I'm trying to think of the name, where they cook the fish with lime juice or lemon juice and with pickles, was delicious. But I actually love the food everywhere. I'm quite an adventurous eater until it came to cockroaches, spiders, that kind of stuff. But when we were in Vietnam, and one of the markets we went to, they had snake wine. They had like a big vat of wine with 20 different snakes in it. And the guy told us if we drink some, that we would never, ever be ill in our lives again. So we did. And it didn't actually taste that bad. But then you get snake scales in your mouth, which is not a great experience.
Whoa.
At least I can say I've drank snake wine, you know.
Yeah, it's very, very different.
You know, and and I love the cooking courses, even though we probably won't ever cook that way here because you can't get the ingredients. But part of the cooking course was to go to the local markets and buy the ingredients, and your guide will tell it. You know, I didn't know there were like 15 different kinds of garlics, and you use this garlic for this. And in Vietnam, we went shopping up the what's it named? The Viet Cong River. No, Mekong River. And we stopped everywhere to buy a fish here, a thing there, and we stopped here to make rice paper. So just that experience of, I guess, a little bit living like a local, and then landing up and cooking everything you'd bought was such an amazing way to discover a country. So that for me was one of the favorite parts. Was, well, we didn't just do cooking courses, we did jewelry making courses. And I even landed up doing a Rubik's Cube, how to do the the thing course. And so we did a lot of, our philosophy really was to spend our money on experiences and not on buying stuff, because half of the stuff is made in China, regardless of which country you're in. We didn't want to buy stuff and lug it around the world for a whole year. So in the beginning, everywhere we went, Indygo wanted this and wanted that. And I said to you, you can have it, but you have to carry it. So very soon she was like, okay, thanks. So we learned really to buy with our eyes. We would look at something and appreciate it, but just leave it behind. So we did lots of experiences everywhere we went, like biking over San Francisco Bridge. In Lima, we paraglided off the cliffs of Lima and went through the city and landed. Canada, we went rowing up the river. Everywhere we went, we do stuff as opposed to buying stuff.
Yes, and actually, this is probably as well one of your biggest learning during this trip. Could you tell us more about what were your biggest learning during the trip as well, for you, Terry, for you, Indygo as well?
Initially in fact, most of the trip we stayed with local families as opposed to backpackers or hotels. And I love that part of it because you weren't really a tourist. You were staying with a family and you'd sit around in the kitchen at night, making the dinner and cutting and chatting to them. And it fascinated me that all our discussions were the same. If you were in South Africa, if you were in South America, if you were in Asia, everyone was worried about their future in this increasingly unstable world. Everybody wanted their children to be educated and to have a better life. And almost every country we went to, the governments would be corrupt. So it fascinated me that everywhere, it doesn't matter the language or the culture or the age, we're so connected about the things we want in our lives. So for me, that was such an eye-opener to see that other people are the same. Also to spend time with families, and they would tell us, so we didn't get that ripped off as tourists. We would shop at the local supermarkets. And in fact, I think it was in Lima, we were staying in a house where they had a little shared kitchen. And Indygo and I went shopping and we bought something that we thought was, you could cook it. And so we went home and we were busy cooking it, and they all came and they were horrified because it was a fruit that you were supposed to slice and eat. And we were like, oh my goodness. So lots of lessons about how fragile the planet is, because you can see that on Galapagos. You can see that on Easter Island. In fact, when we were on the Galapagos, it was quite a shock to learn that there's no tortoises that are born in the wild in the Galapagos, because rats come off the tourist ships and they eat all the eggs. So now what they have to do is they've got to collect the tortoise eggs and incubate them safe from the rats, and then put the little baby tortoises out. And that's purely just from tourism. Same as in Peru, when we went to Machu Picchu, the water bottles, there are mountains of them, mountains and mountains of water bottles. And you actually see just how much waste and damage, because everything is so disposable. You drink your water and you just chuck the thing down. So we had lots of lessons and first sight of how fragile the earth is, which was a big eye-opener to me as well. And also your impact as a tourist when you're traveling. You know, we'd see people come to Easter Island, for instance, and demand to have lobsters for dinner or steak, and they don't have cows on the island. So everything would have to come from Chile at a massive cost. So we try to much more go as travelers as opposed to tourists and demand the stuff that we had at home.
Yes, and as well for you were sharing as well that you were more looking for living experiences rather than buying stuff. So what did you learn as well around stuff about how material could have an impact on your life, and how did you feel without it during this 1 year?
I have to tell you that traveling light, I mean, I had 3 outfits. Indygo had a little bit more than me, but basically when you woke up in the morning, you didn't even have to spend 1 second thinking about what you would wear, because whatever you had washed and was dry from the night before. And it is an amazing feeling, because we didn't have an agenda. So we'd stay at a place generally not less than a week, and then we'd be ready to move on. You could just pick up your backpack. It was light, and just move on to the next adventure. So I started to discover how much material stuff can weigh you down. You don't want to sell your house because you own all the stuff, and you don't want to do this and that. And also we found that clothes are generally cheap everywhere. I wore everything in pink and purple, so everything coordinated. But if something gets dirty or gets stained, you can just give it away and then buy something new. So I love the experience of never having to think about what clothes I would wear. Also, I found in America, if we go into like a Walmart or something, and we wanted to buy a white T-shirt, in South Africa, if we'd go to a shop here, there might be 3 white T-shirts to choose from. When we'd go there were like 47. And I would just become paralyzed because there was too much choice.
Exactly.
And in the end, I wouldn't buy anything. And also, sometimes you buy something and it looks exotic, and you come home and you've got this thing at home and you think, well, it looked so amazing when I was in Peru, but now I'm at home and I've got this like blanket or something. So absolutely, we decided we'd rather go on a cooking course or a cycling course. Indygo learned to ride a 4-wheeler or a Segway, and experiences stay on your memory forever. But if you bought a shirt in Peru, you've thrown it away 2 years' time, it's gone. But the jumping off the cliffs in Lima is with us, and we can talk about it and think about it. So to me, experiences are lasting and absolutely worth spending your money on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you for sharing. And what about you, Indygo? What did you get? What was one of your biggest lessons during this trip? Even so, you were younger, so you may have actually realized more after, like years after.
Yeah, definitely. Well, while I was traveling, I was just taken aback by everything, and it took me a while to mature and actually realize like the experience that I had. Most of my friends haven't been out of the country. One of my best friends have never even been on a plane before, and I'm out here. I've been on like so many flights, and it's just also what my mother was talking about, material doesn't really matter. And I think mainly what I learned from my trip is that you can survive with so little stuff. And you don't need all of these designer brands and big things taking up your life, because in reality it means nothing. So I definitely, many years later, and I'm still trying to like actually realize that, but like just having like connections, like real connections with people, and being able to see like the beautiful world is so much better than like, I don't know, having like a Gucci handbag or something, in my opinion. So I think that really is an amazing lesson to have.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and thank you for sharing, Indygo, and as well, like when like after the trip, like when you came back in 2013, so we're in 2013, like how did it look like when you came back? What did you have to do? What did you realize for the two of you? Yeah.
Well, I came back straight to my family, which was really nice. So I just came back to like a lot of excitement. And I really I adjusted easily. Like I was a kid, man. Like I could do whatever. Like as long as I got food and like sweets sometimes, I was happy. So I really, yeah. But it took me a while to actually realize what I had been given. But afterwards, I'm still very appreciative of it. and I want to leave like as soon as possible. I'm getting on a plane.
I understand, and we'll come back to that just after. But
Okay.
what about you, Terry? How did you look like when you came back? Wow.
So when we came back, we'd sold our house in Cape Town, so we couldn't come back to Cape Town, but we'd owned a property in New Bethesda, which is this tiny little village. It had a population of 76 people, absolutely tiny. And when Indygo and I went to live there, it was 78 people and a dog. And when we moved there, we had no idea what to do. And then I thought, well, I should open a coffee shop because coffee around the world is important. So we opened a coffee shop, and then it morphed into coffee and tea, and then breakfast, and then lunch, and then dinner. And so we became a full-on restaurant, and I've never cooked in my life before. And I learned, my learning curve was like this. I was on YouTube learning how to cook everything. But we landed up cooking all the regional dishes because it's obviously, if you're in the Karoo, which is a semi-arid area. And then we opened a guest house, which did extremely well and won a whole lot of awards. And I think it did so well because we'd just been traveling for a year. So I knew exactly what we should have in the rooms to make people happy. And people absolutely, I think they came to this town with not great expectations, and then they found this absolute, everything they could dream of was there. And we used to really bend over backwards. And in a way, it was like traveling, because instead of you traveling, people were coming to you from different countries. And often we'd have the saying, you come as a guest and leave as a friend, because we just sit around and chat for hours and hours and hours. So for 4 years, we ran the guest house and the restaurant, which, I mean, if you'd ever asked me 5 years ago, would you open a restaurant, I would have just fallen about laughing. But because we had traveled and taken risks, you free up your mind and you're less scared of things. So we opened this restaurant and learned to cook and learned how to run a guest house, and absolutely had an amazing 4 years. Indygo, of course, didn't go to school during that time either, because she was working in the guest house. She was part of the kitchen staff, would make the milkshakes, would make the salads. She could work the credit card machine. She could welcome the guests, take them to their rooms, talk about the village. So it was an alternative education for her. And because I was a single mom, I only employed single moms to work in the restaurant. So we had a great bond. It was a very woman-orientated place, except for the dog, who was a male. But we really did very well. And it was a completely different kind of adventure for the next 4 years after coming back.
And so, yes, so that's super interesting, because the fact that you went traveling on the world for 1 year, you had faced already so many challenges along the trip, along the travel, that you just came with this mindset of, well, I can deal with any situation, like I can deal with any challenge. And so then you go back to South Africa and you're like, okay, let's open a coffee shop that transform into one of the best places to stay, one of the best places to have lunch and dinner. That's so inspiring, Terry, and as well that you made Indygo part of the experience as well. How did you like this time as well, Indygo?
The town was obviously, like my mother mentioned, very small. So I only had one other friend. So it was really nice to just be introduced to so many different people every single day. And I really enjoyed like taking their coffee out, like asking how their day was, did they enjoy the town, and just interacting with other people. And it gave me like skills that like most people would only learn my age, 17, like starting a new job and how to have etiquette and like work hard and interact with other people, and also having to interact with mean people. Someone grumpy, they have a long trip, they snap at you. So I think I learned that at a young age, which was really nice.
Yes.
We used to have a competition around who could get the biggest tip. And hands down, Indygo would win all the time. They would go, oh, yes, this cute little a 10-year-old serving our food, let's give her a big tip. And we were always like, no, man, we need the bigger tip. But yeah, she always used to win that competition.
Wow. And yes, and I'm not surprised. And at the same time, yes, Indygo, I feel and I understand you, because by myself as well, before working within the hospitality industry, it's not always easy, to keep your face up, no matter who is in front of you. You need to keep your mind cool. And if we fast forward like to now, what are you up to for the two of you? You can start if you want, Indygo.
Well, I'm still in school right now. When lockdown happened, my mother and I decided it would be best if I moved to just an online school, which is based in the US actually. So I'm doing that right now, which I'm really, really, really enjoying. But I'm actually planning on becoming a nurse. So I'm very much guiding myself, trying to get into that career path, finding out what qualifications I need to get into college. So that's basically where my life is at the point in time. Yeah.
And where, here comes your favorite question, Indygo. Where, if you could now, right now, today, where would you like to go and to live, and why?
Right now I really want to go to Italy. It's just I've always wanted to be there, and also one of my favorite movies is Call Me by Your Name. You can't see, but the poster's up in my room, so I want to just go to Italy and just like be there by those beautiful beaches and everything. And I think like I'm sure everyone's feeling this now, especially with lockdown. Like we've been at home for like a year and a half now, and we're getting a bit crazy, so just want to get out there again.
I understand. Thank you for sharing, Indygo. And yeah, Italy is a super great place because it covers architecture, history, food.
Exactly.
It's a full experience. And what about you, Terry? What are you up to today? Like, what's the evolution?
So the interesting thing is we sold our restaurant and guest house in New Bethesda, but we sold it as a going concern. So all we did was leave it up close again, exactly like we had done 4 years before that. We left every single thing, the kitchen, the bedding. We took our dog and our clothes and we left again. And I came to Cape Town and I had to basically reinvent myself again completely. And I've been doing a lot of public speaking, and this was a massive fear in my life before that. People had always asked me to talk about my trip or talk at someone's 50th birthday party, and I would always say no. And I decided when we came back that I was really going to become a good public speaker, and I joined Toastmasters, and I went on several public speaking courses. And now I'm actually working for a company called High Impact Public Speakers, where I'm one of the trainers. And I found amazingly that I have a gift for coaching people on how to talk. So I'm absolutely loving the speaking. As I was just saying earlier, we've got 3 speaking gigs. Often Indygo is coming with me because people want to hear her questions as well. And because of lockdown, because I've got an IT background, I spent 30 years in IT, I became a Zoom technical host. And in fact, last year I ran about 115 Zoom meetings for corporates, for NGOs, for charities, for events. And so that is a big part of my business currently. And very sadly, a lot of it now is running memorial services or funerals. But it's been something to be able to pivot, to be able to earn an income using my technology, and then doing a lot of speaking and a lot of training. So from in the last 5 or 7 years, just changed completely from working in IT to running a restaurant to now doing public speaking. It's been quite an interesting change of everything, but every time you do a big change, it gives you so much excitement and enthusiasm, and it's wonderful to learn a new skill and to actually find you're good at something you'd never imagined before. So yeah, that's what I'm currently doing now.
So, thank you so much for sharing, Terry. And I love how you are constantly reinventing yourself, building up skills over building up skills, and getting to know as well what makes you feel alive. What do you like? And it's by trying so many things, so many different things, experiencing so many different things, that you're getting better at understanding what makes you feel like this is what I want to do. This is how I want to serve others. And talking about serving others, actually, Terry, how could we connect with you for our next speaking gig? Of if we need like a specialist as a Zoom technique, like how do we do that?
The easiest place is to email me, and it's Terry, Terry, spelled almost like the boy, and then at WINSHIP, which is my surname, like Win, WIN, and ship, that sails the sea, SHIP.co.za, Zuid-Afrika. So Terry at winship.co.za, and drop me an email and we can chat. Would be wonderful. Be a form of traveling. If I can talk to people from all around the world, would be marvelous.
Yes, because like the two options you're offering right now, you can do from anywhere, everywhere. And that is so much flexible. Well, like thank you so much, Terry and Indygo, for coming up on Connection. Thank you for sharing, your experience of like why you decided to take a jump. What did the fact of jumping, what did it brought into your life? Because you came to meet thousands of people you would not expect to meet. You embrace experiences as well. You can grow faster in terms of your self-esteem, self-confidence, and relationship between one another as well, as a mother and daughter. So thank you so much for coming up onto Connection as well, to inspire others who, when it's possible, like you can already start planning to go for a trip, and there is no age limit, and simply like if it's something that ring a bell to go for a world trip, well, it's possible, even with a young child. And so thank you so much for coming up, Terry and Indygo. And as well, as everyone knows, like I wanted to add a message as well. As you know, Connection like supports Gift a Dream Foundation, which is a foundation like who is handled and managed by one of my dear friends, Aida Sabri, and her main mission with Gift a Dream Foundation is first to bring education of her children with discapacities in Kenya, and as well to bring higher education to women over India. However, since COVID started, the focus has changed from education to nutrition. That is why it has been launched, the Food Parcel Movement. And did you know that for $2 a day, you could feed a family of 5? And so that is why, like, I definitely encourage you to look up more at Gift a Dream Foundation. And I can confirm that whatever you're giving, it's making a difference in the life of these children and families. And to make a donation today, it's very simple. The link is on the box below, and it's in bringing hands together that we can make a difference. So thank you so much for staying on Connection today. And well, if you want more inspiring men and women to tell their stories, you know what to do. Simply subscribe to Connection, make the most of it, and thank you. See you on next Friday. Thank you so much again, ladies. Thank you, everyone.